Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall Districts. And my name's Susanna, and I live with trains. And today, it's your comments and questions answered. So we're looking back at another 3 videos and going through your comments and questions. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody who's taken the time to watch my videos, to comment on them, because it's very much appreciated. I know I don't necessarily write back on the actual comments as I usually say, but it's actually easier, as I always say, to actually do it through these videos. So today we're going to go through some of the videos, which is 3 videos worth, and it won't take too long, but it's just that I just find it easier to do it this way. So we're going to go through some of the questions and comments that you've put in. So please keep them coming. You might not get replies straight away, but you will get a reply eventually. So I'm just going to put my glasses on, and then we're going to start going through some of the comments. Now, the first one that I wanted to look at is modules. The modules video that I did, where I sort of done the station in bits and pieces. So I'm actually going to probably sneaky show you another module that I've since built. So Stuart Holland said, great video, nice modules I should say, well modelled and very impressed. Regards, Stuart. Thank you very much, Stuart. That's very kind of you. Arthur Thorpe saying, brilliant update, showing the module idea, and he said he would be using that on his layout. So that's what sort of layout, my layout, and what I try and do. I don't do these videos for paid promotion or for money or anything. It's there that I just put these videos out, and then hopefully it might help somebody else out along the way. Ponder Zen said, very good. Ian Slater said, keep up the good work. Nice to have you back on a regular basis. And so thank you very much, Ian Slater. Piccadilly Model Railways, my good friend John. He said, fantastic scene there. Completely agreed that it's far easier to make off-board units, especially when they fit behind something else. Good job. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't always work like that, but yeah, generally speaking it does. I do prefer to work in modules. And Martin Patterson was saying that he was using foam board glued onto a baseboard for his layout. So people do use foam board, but you can get, I mean, the Americans, they use proper sort of like foam board where it's like about 1 or 2 inches thick, like that kind of thing, and they actually lay it on top of the actual base itself, and then they work on it, because then you can carve out ditches within the foam board and river scenes and things like that. So that's why they kind of use it like that. But to be honest with you, I've never really found it that easy to find over here. I don't know why. Ian Slater also asked, what size sheet and where did I get my foam board from? So my foam board is basically, I get it from my local art shop, because my local art shop is literally behind the station here. So it's only about a 5-minute walk. So you can get it from your local art shop, but I should imagine you can also get it from places like Hobbycraft as well. Any kind of stationery shop you might be able to kind of get it from, but I would sort of say either a local art shop or probably Hobbycraft is probably your best bet. Also the size depends on the job in hand that I have to do, and the thickness is also dependent on the job that I have to do. Now on my last video, on the video of the modules, I did actually show that I had actually purchased an A0 sheet. But like I said, they do go down in sizes. You can get A0, A1, A3. I think there's probably an A2 somewhere along the line. But it really depends on what you're having to do. Now, what I would sort of suggest as a tip is, if you are going to buy a foam board and you're not quite sure what size that you need, think about what you're going to use it for, and potentially if you've got any other projects to do. Because when I buy foam board, I always kind of look at it like that, where I was like, okay, I've got this to do now, but have I got anything else to do maybe later that I might need some more foam board? So it might be better off buying a bigger sheet now rather than 2 smaller sheets and going back again. So that's kind of how I look at it. But like I said, you can get it in various sizes. It's not very expensive to make, and it's very light. And also, like I said, with the expense of wood as it is, and also wood makes a lot of mess. I mean, you've got dust everywhere, and you know, it creates a lot of noise. And so when you can make these modules out of foam board and a glue gun, then to be honest with you, that's a lot easier to manage with, which is why I've kind of turned more to foam board, because when you work in modules, and especially if I wouldn't necessarily recommend it if you've got an exhibition layout because it can be quite brittle. So if you are going to be continuously moving it, like from exhibition to exhibition, there is a chance that you could damage its integrity. But for my purposes, because it's semi-permanent, where it's just literally there most of the time in its situation, and occasionally I might have to lift it off to do some track maintenance or something like that, then it's fine. So that's how I kind of would sort of suggest and say the tips. So that will conclude the modules video comments and questions. So moving on to our next video, which is Susanna's Come Build With Me, the lighting and the tufts video. There isn't many comments on this one, so we should get through this one quite quickly. Darren Faulkner said, excellent video again as always, your builds look amazing, so thank you very much Darren Faulkner for taking the time to watch and to comment on my video. Stuart Holland K7P said, great video Susanna, thank you thank you. Regards Stuart, so thank you once again Stuart for commenting. And Alan Corley's Trains 9917 says, thanks for the demo Susanna, especially about the discharging and static grass applicator. I bought one of these things a few weeks ago to use on my own layout, and yet to use it excuse me, there is no mention in the instructions about discharging the thing, so you saved me from turning myself into a Belushi beacon. Lol. Yeah, I mean, it should say it. I mean, to be honest, I've got caught up with the static grass applicator myself, where I've shocked myself a few times. And he said, great videos as always, stay safe, looking forward to seeing your next video. So thank you very much for that. And that was the concluding, I told you it was quick, this one. And then we move on to the last video. So on to the last video that we're going to be discussing, and that is the layout update video, which I done recently. And Model Railway Shed, Dino, I believe it is, yes, Dino, says amazing work Susanna, lighting looks incredible. So thank you very much. I've worked very hard to get that work done on the lighting at the back. I've now got to redo the ones at the front. Ian Slater says, great update, love it, so thank you very much Ian. DV42 says, nice video, I really loved that branch line station. So thank you so much for that. That's actually becoming one of my favourite bits actually, because it really does capture, I've seen it on people's videos before, on people's layouts where they do a branch line station, and I think to myself, they've really kind of captured the essence of a branch line station, and I really wanted to do the same in the modern theme, and I think I've done quite well there. And that space is only literally about 4 foot by about, I think it's about 6 or 7 inches, something like that. It's really not very wide at all, so it literally is just the branch line station. So thank you so much. Arthur Thorpe 5445 says, looking good, you've certainly improved the overall feel of your layout, so thank you, that's always the aim. Like I said, because the layout is 95% finished, or sort of, I mean, like they always say, a layout is never really finished, but pretty much all of it is scenic. A lot of it is just about tweaking things that I'm not quite happy with, just to try and make minor adjustments, and maybe going down the road of adding more and more details as opposed to wholesale changes. But sometimes it's like, if things just don't work out, I'll just rip it out and just do it again, because if it doesn't work, there's no point having it, and if you don't use certain areas and things, you might as well just rip it out and just do it again. But generally speaking, the layout I'm pretty much happy with as it is. So yeah. Alan Reynolds, Buckland Junction, said, hi Susanna, layout is looking good and very interesting. I'm enjoying and learning too, and I'm glad you are. It's nice to hear those kind of things, because like I said, it's nice to put these videos out and that it's actually going to use and being able to help people. So I'm really happy that the videos are helping people. Medway Peninsula, Kevin said, hi Susanna, I really enjoyed the tour of the layout and nice to catch up with the changes, which are excellent. Looking forward to seeing what new stock has arrived. Yes, so that will come up towards the end of the video. We'll have a little chat about that. Stuart Holland K7P said, hi Susanna, great video, very nice detail, regards Stuart. We also have Jerry Allen 34, it's nice to see him back, and I've been watching his videos as well. Hi Susanna, you've built as usual a very inspirational layout. Not commented for a long time, but do watch your layout videos and I get a lot of inspiration from you. So thank you so much, Jerry, it's very kind of you. He also goes to say that the 2 depots look fantastic and love the footbridge. Although I'm very much in the 70s and early 80s, your layout is very enjoyable. Cheers, Jerry. Well, I know that Jerry over at Kampala Road has his layout built in the 70s and 80s, but it's like I've always said, I watch a lot of American stuff and I enjoy watching a lot of American stuff and how they operate and how they have their layouts. And so I've always sort of said that it doesn't really matter what era you model and what gauge you model and what country you model. There's always something to learn, whether it be O gauge, double O, doesn't matter. So there's always something to learn from people, and you know, although my main thing is modern double O, I do sort of dip in and, you know, watch, like I said, a lot of American stuff. I do watch some end gauge stuff as well. So it doesn't really matter. There's always something to learn from somebody, because there's certain techniques, like say static grass or scenery applications, which doesn't really cross sort of eras or gauges, you know, so it kind of just fits it all. So you don't necessarily have to be an N gauge modeler to appreciate some of the O gauge scenery or something like that. You know, it does apply and cross over. So you can learn a lot from people, even though they might not necessarily be modelling what you're modelling. Darren Faulkner says, excellent as always, madam, looks amazing, so thank you. Mark Heisman says, hi Susan, which is Susanna, you've been very busy. Please can I ask you, where did you get the back scenes behind the GBRS sidings come from, and keep up the good work? Right, so we will go to that shortly. Mark in the house, 1968, says, hi Susanna, you must have driven the 272 if you drove a DPK, and I must know good old Jeff, he married my ex-girlfriend mum, who was a conductor at I'm guessing Stanford Brook. So on that last comment, some of you are probably thinking, what is all those abbreviations and what you're talking about? So this is a DPK, and this is the route 272, and this very bus I have actually driven in service. This actual bus I've actually driven in service. So those of you who don't know, I'm actually a bus driver. I used to, when I first passed my test many years ago, I used to work for London United, and I used to be based out of Stanford Brook Bus Garage in West London. And one of the routes that I was assigned to in the early days was this route, which was 272, and this is a DPK. And now I drove these when they were brand new. I've also driven these later on in my career for another bus company, much later on in my career. But I've always enjoyed driving these little ones. And now the DPK stands for Dennis Pointer, because that's what these are, Dennis Pointer darts. But I think the K, I was never quite sure what the K stood for, but I always used to call it Kiddie. So, because this was the baby one of the bunch, because you used to have them in various lengths, and I've driven the DPs, which were the Dennis Pointers, and they were like the full length, and some of them, and it depends, and some bus companies, they kind of use different abbreviations for their numbers. I think Go Ahead Group I think it was like London General and London Central used the abbreviation DPD, which I think was kind of like Dennis Pointer Dart, and I think they even used the abbreviation DPDL, I think, as well. But anyway, yeah, so this is a DPK. I used to call it K for kiddie because this was like the baby of the bunch. So, and I used to drive these out of Stanford Brook quite a lot. And Mark in the house, if you're watching this video, I'm not sure if I know, I do know of, I remember Jeff, but I also remember Howard and Graham Madge, who was the trainer who actually took my interview when I first went there. He was the interviewer, and I think he was the boss there. My instructors were actually Linda and also Lawrence Belhaj. So if you know any of those, then you know. I was there from the time period of about 98, 99 is when I was doing I think it was 99 when I was doing my training with them, and I was driving Metro buses on my training. So, but the 272 was actually a lovely little route. Actually, I really enjoyed driving that route, so that was quite nice, and I enjoyed driving the little DPK. So that was really, really good. Incidentally, the picture that you can see in front of you is the very first bus route that I was actually allocated to when I first passed my test. And this was the 283 over at East Acton. My apologies for the shaky hand because I'm not on the tripod. And this bus, LG02FHD, was actually brand new when I was there. It was virtually new when I was there. And as you can see, it was a dual door Dennis Dart, and as you can see, it's a DPS. Now the DPS stood for short, so it's a Dennis Pointer short wheelbase. It wasn't the kiddie. It was kind of like the medium range. I believe it's the short version. And then they had the DP, which was the long version. So there was 3 different sizes, I believe it was, and this was my first actual allocated route and this was taken at the Barnes Wetland Centre. So I just arrived at the very end of my terminus, and so I was going to head back to East Acton, as you can see, Brunel Road. So yeah, those were the good old days, and that was when Hammersmith Bridge, for those of you who know Hammersmith Bridge, was actually open. So Mark Huseman was asking me about the backdrops and the one behind the GBRF depot. So I'm not quite sure because you've got this one here and you've got that one there, and they're 2 different ones. Now this one here is actually one of the more newer kind of Pico range ones, because Pico always used to do those kind of like hand-drawn sort of cartoony type sort of back scenes, which I was never really overly keen on, but they sort of did a job. And but these are they're more modern ones, and this is a Pico back scene, and they do some other photographic ones. On this layout, there's definitely a wide variety of mixtures of back scenes on here. There is Gauge Master, there is Pico, there is ID back scenes, there is N gauge, and then there is 00 gauge back scenes. There's a real mixture here, and that is pretty much to do with trying to get the scene that I want to create. So sometimes it's like the scene that you want to create, the picture isn't necessarily available in, say, a Gauge Master. It's only available in ID back scenes, or vice versa. So that's why this one here, if it's this one here, this one goes into pack A and pack B, and that is that one there. That is 2 packs there. And it's the same scene, and it's called, what is it called now? I know it's from ID back scenes basically, and there's 2 packs of it. I don't know if it's Into the Hills or Into the Mountains or something like that. But basically there's a pack A and B. So I know that ID back scenes do some where they do like various sort of packs, and I think in some places they do like A, B, C, D. I think this is A and B. So this is an ID back scenes one that I've had, and I'm really pleased with this. This really set the scene as to what I really wanted on this layout. So this is the rest of it. And that is, like I said, that's all finished up to there. This one here is actually another ID Vaccines, and this is just a plain tree line one that you can get from ID Vaccines, which I've used quite a lot. I've got this one here, and then there's another one. There's quite a few of these sort of plain tree ones that I've got, because they're just quite nice filler ones to do. This one's exactly the same. This is another ID Vaccines one with the trees, and then I've put some seafoam trees at the front of it to give it a bit more depth. And just to go back to our little modules sort of video, this is a new module that I've now built, because as you can see, the bus depot is coming back, and that's now connected to the rest of those modules, which is one over there, which you saw. There's this one here, and then there's this one just over here. So, and then there's this module at the back there as well. So these are all the modules sort of getting tied up together and tied in, which I'm really, really pleased about. So this is going to give me a lot more space to put this bus depot back, which I really love. So that's coming back. So as you can see, it's just placed there at the moment, but it will be coming back proper. Over here, one of my favourite parts of the layout, the back scene is also ID back scenes, and again it's also the standard tree line back scene, so it's nothing terribly exciting. And there you go, that's it there, over there. So just before we go, I thought I'd talk to you about upcoming projects and things and upcoming videos, because I've got a number of videos coming up. When you're going to get them, that's a different story, but things to look forward to is that, and like I said, if you've got any comments or questions, please put them in the comments below. And although it might seem like I'm ignoring you, I'm not. I'll do another one of these videos and I'll catch up on all the comments and get back to you as and when. So please don't feel that that it's a waste of time you commented or anything. If you just comment in the comment section below, I will do another one of these videos, and then you'll get it direct from me. Like I keep saying, sometimes it's just easier to just do it like this rather than try and do the whole tippy-tappy thing. So that's the thing. So upcoming videos. So we've got a back scene video to do. So that should be a relatively quick one. That'll be kind of like a Susanna's Come Build With Me. I've also got a running session video to do. And then there's also a rolling stock video, but I'm also going to be doing some rolling stock projects. Now some I've already done, and some of it will be covered within the rolling stock video, but I do have a Network Rail VIU, Video Inspection Unit, conversion to do on a Hornby Class 153. I actually have it here. I'm waiting on parts. So some of the parts arrived already, but I'm still waiting on some. I've ordered the transfers from Railtech, so the transfers for Railtech have already arrived. Some of the additional 3D printed parts that I've ordered have arrived, but they were incorrect, and so they're going to be resent out next week, so I should get them next week. But again, I'll go into more depth with that as and when we get to those videos. So there's quite a lot of videos to look forward to, and then before you know it, it's going to be Christmas. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching. I really appreciate you guys watching. I also appreciate your support and also appreciate your comments, because like I said, it is easier for me just to sort of show you directly what and talk to you directly rather than me going on the tippy tapping. So anyway, until the next time, my name's Susanna and I live with trains. Goodbye.